Can you use the monstrous GTR as a dad car? And even if you could afford to buy a second-hand one of these, could you afford to run it? Look, let's find out. My name's Ben, and welcome to Dadcars. So look, before we talk about the performance stats and all the rest of it, let's focus on what's most important on the Dadcars channel, rear practicality. Let's get in the back of a Nissan GTR. Right, getting in the back of a GTR. Let's see what it's like for full-grown adults. Whoa! This is huge! This is so much bigger than I was expecting. I was expecting 911 size, but this is huge. It goes all the way back. It's so deep, this seat. And although my head is touching on the glass there, I could sort of slump down. Yeah, it's pretty similar to a Mustang, I would say, the rear seats, except I think they're a better shape for child seats. Now, unfortunately, you've got, like you have with so many 2+2s, you've got this transmission tunnel here, which would limit me getting a free across Multimax seat back here for my 4 children, with the eldest on the front. But I was looking at some pictures earlier on with this car's owner, and some other owners have taken these sections out. So there's a chance, you know, I think this might be just sort of superficial, you know, this and this sort of speaker housing here. So you might be able to make it a flat rear bench back here. The real test for any dad car. The Isofix base and rear facing baby seat. Let's see how it does. Right, so the base is in there, and because the base of these seats is really deep and flat, it actually fits in there perfectly. Let's have a look though for rear facing baby seat in. Well, actually swinging that in for a 2+2 is brilliant. You'd be able to do that with the baby inside the seat already, which you can't do in a lot of other 2+2s. Okay, moment of truth, let's see if the seat goes back. Well, yeah, it does. And let's move it back as far as we can, so it's just not touching. So the front passenger seat is slightly compromised as expected, but not nearly as much as it would be in a 911. So to have a rear-facing Isofix baby seat in the back, I mean, your other half would sit here very happily, I think. So you're definitely not restricted to small compact child seats back here. There's a hell of a lot of space. So this here is a folding Isofix booster seat, and yeah, I mean, it fits back there with plenty of space. So I really think it's wide open. I reckon you could get most child seat solutions back here. These seats are excellently designed for child seats. And it absolutely crushes the Dadcars boot test. I mean, compared to the other 2+2 Dadcar legends that I've been featuring, this is by far the biggest. Right, so this gorgeous GTR that me and my daughter are about to take out for a drive is a 2017, a third generation, the current generation, the EBA. It's got a 3.8 litre twin turbocharged V6, which from standard produces around 565 brake horsepower and that mind-bending sub 3 seconds 0 to 60. Now, like most GTRs, this one isn't standard. It's a stage 4 by Lichfield, including their full Lichfield handling kit, bigger injectors, air filters, ECU map, race intercooler, but it's still got its downpipe cats in place so that this car's owner can take it on track. And as you'll hear in a minute, I still think it's plenty loud enough. So with those modifications, this car today is producing 672 brake horsepower. Woo, and I know some people take these up past and beyond 1500, but for the Dadcars channel, I'm glad I got one which has stopped shy of 700. Speaking of Dadcars, this car's owner, David, has owned GTRs for the last 12 years. He got his first CBA when his children were only a little bit older than mine. Then he got a DBA, and then now this, the latest one, the EBA. So he's had one of each. And they've been his genuine daily Dadcars, as well as taking them on track. How cool is that? The Japanese supercar slayer, Godzilla. Finally getting to drive one. Oh, I'm absolutely buzzing for this. And what are the chances? Look, we're about to drive the fastest car we've ever driven, sweetie, and it's just started raining. Same thing happened when I drove the Superleggera. At least this has got all-wheel drive. So what's it like sat in a GTR? Does it feel really cheap and low grade compared to my Aston Martin and some of the other prestigious stuff that I've driven on the Dadcars channel? No, It feels really special. They've done an incredible job for the amount of money that they charge for these things. I mean, I know it's creeping up and up and up, but everything is because of inflation. But I mean, when these first launched, they cost around £55,000 in the UK in 2009. Incredible. And this feels really special. You know, there's nice stitching up here on the leather dash. This particular model's got loads of carbon fibre in it. 911s are renowned for being the same car forever, aren't they? This is a current generation GTR. And a current generation 911 is a 992. If you go back to 2007, when these were first launched, in 2007, the 911 was the 997. 997, 992 are completely different looking cars. Whereas this, and the first GTR, they look the same. I remember going to Japfest, the car show, and seeing one of these in the flesh for the first time in 2009. And it just looked out of this world futuristic. Presents for days, the size, the scale. God, it was incredible. And it made the then Skylines look really old, small and dated. How things changed though, because if you saw a lovely R34 Skyline on the road now, it'd be such a huge event, wouldn't it? Well, there's another GTR there. How cool. Let's get down to business though, because Dadcars is all about dailying exciting cars with your children. Servicing costs on these, it's around £300 to £400 for a minor service, about £800 to £1,000 for a major, and you do servicing every year or every 12,000 miles, I think. This car's owner pays around £500 for insurance. Now that might be because of his driving experience. He's had GTRs for the last 10 years and also his age, but it's nice to know that sensible prices are available, and that's including the modifications being declared on this as well, obviously. Miles per gallon, you're probably looking at around 18 in reality. On a long run, you can get about 300 miles to a tank, or 70 litre tank, I think this is. But this car's owner says that on a track, he could drain a full tank in about 35 miles. So you could do the maths on that. But over the years, me speaking to people at car meets and things like that, I mean, I picked up that, you know, these cars can be really expensive to run maintenance costs as well. But when I was talking to David today, you know, I asked him, I said, come on, 3 GTRs you've owned now, you must have some juicy horror stories of things going wrong and massive maintenance bills. But he disappointed me by saying, honestly, he hasn't had any at all. Me, with the DB9, I set up, in addition, an extra £2,000 a year sort of slush pot for just things going wrong. But David said he hasn't really had to do that. He said the most expensive thing about running this car is that you get enticed into the next modification. So I'm really actually quite impressed that it seems that these cars, if you can stomach those higher general running costs, you shouldn't really get into massive trouble with this. Oh. Oh, this thing is absolutely rapid. Oh, I'm not obviously going to be able to test it in these conditions. It's far too wet, and you know, it wouldn't be the right thing to do either. First time driving a GTR with my precious cargo behind me. So I'm starting to think maybe my misconception of the GTR throwing you huge maintenance bills and going wrong, it might be down to the fact that most people modify their GTRs. But unless you're going to the absolute best places to get it done, and you're doing it carefully, you know, if you boost things up too high, you've got to make sure that you uprate other things as well. And there's probably so many out there that have kind of owners have had a go at modifying themselves, or they're getting a place which isn't a recognised name, like Lichfield, and then it's kind of putting strain on the car in different places, and then that's obviously creating problems, which makes sense, doesn't it? So if you get one which is either standard or close to standard, or if it is modified, it's modified by a recognisable name like Lichfield. David did say a couple of others, but they've slipped from my mind, so apologies for that. So I met this car's owner David and this car when I did my first Sporting Bears event last year on the Isle of Wight. Basically a huge group of us, an Aventador, Aston Martins, GTR, Lotus Evora, really cool MG, loads of cars. We all went over to the Isle of Wight to a children's hospice and took out volunteered to take out people in the car, families, young carers, young people in the cars to have a day out, a bit of respite. And honestly, it was such a buzz. Getting to share your car with other people and see the happiness that spreads, that is one of the biggest joys that you can experience as an owner of an exciting car like this. If you've got a car, it can be anything. Everyone's idea of an exciting car is different. If you enjoy going to car meets, going on car runs, groups of people driving around, it's one of the most fun things we can do at weekends, isn't it? But if you can do that as well as raising money for children's charities in the UK and spreading joy and sharing these cars with people, that's what the Sporting Bears is all about. And for me, it's one of the most valuable things you can do. Rather than just going to an event and speaking to people and showing off your car, actually doing it and raising money for children's charities. So I'll put a link in the description below for the Sporting Bears website. If you've got any questions, honestly, drop it in the comments below, or you can send me a direct message on Instagram. Anyone who's interested in the Sporting Bears, you can just fire me a message personally and I'll answer any questions you've got. So the GTR is known as the supercar killer, isn't it? For a fraction of the price, you can have a car which would absolutely trounce Ferraris, Lamborghinis and the such on a track. But the GTRs are starting to get very expensive. If you go on Auto Trader, you can see there's loads that are like over £100,000. There's cars that are up for the same price as a Ferrari Lusso. But the GTR that really appeals to me is like 2011, 2012 DBA. Nice low mileage one for like sub 50 grand. It's half the price of a Ferrari FF. I'm barely pressing that accelerator. The thing is, it's really easy to modulate though. You can drive this around really slowly without leaping off. So is the GTR a usable daily dad car? Well, yeah, undeniably. This car's owner got his first GTR when his children were like 8 and 6 years old. And as we've seen today, the rear seats are incredibly practical. So much more so than a 911, an Aston Martin. And the sound of this thing when it drives past you in person, hits you right in the chest. I don't think you need it to be any louder than this. Obviously there's people that love their cars to spit flames and burst the eardrums of everybody they go past, but for me, I think this is plenty loud enough. And obviously you've got the switchable exhaust as well, so if you're starting the car up really early in the morning, you don't want to wake all your neighbours up, you've got that option as well. Oh, the sun comes out now, doesn't it? Right at the end. Oh, God! It does not take long at all to get to 70, does it? Oh, absolutely incredible, this thing. Oh. Obviously I drove the Taycan Turbo S, didn't I? But there's just something about the vibrations and the visceral experience from this. And I think the thing is as well, you've got the supercar performance here, but it feels so controlled. Some people complain about these cars, don't they? They're too electronically aided and it drives itself. But if you're talking about a dad car and you've got children in the back, probably not a bad thing, is it? To have a car which is so capable and keeps everything in line like this does. So a massive thank you to this car's owner, David. He is a Sporting Bears veteran. Been with the Sporting Bears for over 10 years, so he would be really chuffed if, because of this video, because of this car, people got in touch and signed up to the Sporting Bears, got involved and became a member. So in summary then, for the Nissan GTR, it is undeniably on the Mount Rushmore of dad cars. 911, DB9, Lotus Evora, Gran Turismo, GTR. It's incredible. And for me, if you can adapt that sort of transmission tunnel there and that speaker, and I could get a free across multimac in the back, this is definitely on the list to replace the Aston Martin. If you're trying to convince your other half that a GTR is a suitable family car, show them this video. My 4-year-old is fast asleep in the back of a car which is pushing 700 brake horsepower. Thank you all so much for watching. Remember, check out the Sporting Bears. If you've got any questions, fire them to me personally. I'd love to talk to you about the Sporting Bears. Subscribe if you haven't already. Please share this video, comment below, like, hit the bell icon, and I'll see you on the next one. Thank you so much. Bye-bye. What's the matter? No, he's going to come back and get us, and then we're going to drive it, okay?